What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Nerd Guru. Today, we are going to be talking about some of my favorite DC shows that came out last year. I'm going to be trying out a little bit of a new concept. It's kind of more of a podcast kind of vibe, so drop down in the comments and let me know if you want to hear me do more of this style of video. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So first things first, we gotta come talk about this Batman Caped Crusader show. I was a little skeptical because I didn't know how it was going to be. We haven't had any kind of new animated DC stuff that's not associated with the Max umbrella in quite some time. However, I am quite pleasantly surprised with this show. It incorporates the OG 60s style from the original Batman, the animated series from the 90s, and I was such a fan of that. And I was pretty excited to see this style return. Bruce Timm is returning. His art style is absolutely iconic. And anybody that knows me knows I loved the original Batman animated series, the Superman animated series, and of course, one of my favorites of all time, the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. I was so into it. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with this show. I mean, the series is a very serious in nature, but I loved so many different aspects of it. Like this version of Harley Quinn I thought was super impressive. It was kind of a complete variation from the character, kind of a reimagining, if you will. But I feel like it still held true to the original. I love how Barbara's characterization is really strong and she's opinionated and driven. She often butted heads with Commissioner Gordon in the show, which was pretty interesting. We haven't seen anything like that before. But ultimately, it was a shorter show, kind of a mini series. And in my grand scheme of DC content, I don't know how high I would place this show because yes, it harkens back to playing on the nostalgic vibe that Bruce Timm, of course, is going to bring. However, I don't know how much it did as far as return value. Overall, I would give this show a solid 7.5 out of 10. Next, we got Suicide Squad Isekai, and essentially it's an animated adaptation of Suicide Squad. And I gotta say right off the bat, the animation is incredible in this show. The action looked super fluid, the characters were revamped, and naturally this is gonna draw a lot of allusions to the most recent Suicide Squad film, as well as harkening back to the actors. And that's just natural, that's gonna happen. Suicide Squad was really popular, and this show definitely seems to be riding that wave. However, this show has a very cool fantasy element to it. The characters are placed in an almost completely different environment than we're used to seeing them in. But I'd say the show does a pretty good job at capturing that ragtag chemistry between each character. I really enjoyed Clayface constantly breaking the fourth wall and kind of reminded me of one of my favorite characters from an amazing show, Community, Abed.
Right, cool.
Because we all know Clayface is an actor and he's constantly talking about the journey that the characters are going through from the audience's perspective, which I thought was pretty interesting. Harley Quinn has some fantastic character development in this show, which I wasn't really expecting. And the conflict that the characters encounter in this fantastical universe, I gotta say, is pretty compelling and manages to hold my interest for the 10 episodes run that it had. However, I wasn't too fond of the ending, and I'll primarily keep this spoiler free, but as with such other animes, didn't quite manage to stick the landing for me. But I gotta say, I really admire this kind of new direction that this show took, and I appreciate that they actually went in a different direction than most of the other animated superhero shows are taking these days. All in all, I'd go ahead and rate this show a good 7 out of 10. Alright, so now we're getting to the really good stuff. Not that the other stuff was bad before, but this is what I really want to talk about. My Adventures with Superman was a very pleasant surprise. I didn't like the animation style at first, but the pseudo anime style really works for me. And by the end of the second season, I was like applauding it. The action scenes are so fluid and dynamic. The characters' faces are full of expression and are incredibly emotive. Clark's characterization is also absolutely perfect. It captures the mix of the nerdy and heroic side of what I really imagine imagine a perfect Superman and Clark Kent is. I really appreciated the twist on Superman's rogues gallery as well, and giving them tech support is such an interesting change of pace. The progression of the story is incredibly fresh and fast-paced. It keeps things nice and exciting over the course of the 2 seasons that are already out. As well as that theme song, the opening is incredible. I could never skip that theme. It really gets you excited to watch every single episode. Jack Quaid does an amazing job at voicing Clark, and wasn't too much of a far cry from his work on The Boys, and seems to have brought that wit and charm from his work on The Boys. Speaking of The Boys, this show absolutely saves us from the Homelander brain rot. Not all stupidly superpowered superheroes are complete psychopaths, and Superman proves that to us. Thank goodness. I thought it was just a really great modernization of Superman's lore while still keeping the classic elements that we've all grown to know and love from the Man of Tomorrow. There's some great special guest appearances by the likes of John Irons and the new and improved Livewire. Amanda Waller is devious as ever. However, they really leaned in to the Killmonger vibe I feel like her character always has had by wanting to protect humanity but going a smidge too far. This version of Brainiac is absolutely wild, and there's absolutely no way I could sit here and fully tell you just how well done Brainiac was without you just going and watching the show. It was definitely one that I was upset to finish because I am certainly going to miss it. I've looked forward to almost every episode over the 2 seasons, and that's really saying something. Definitely recommend this show, and I will definitely give this a 9 out of 10. All right, friends, and the moment you have all been waiting for, let's go ahead and talk about the Penguin. First of all, I was obsessed after the very first episode. I could tell just by the tone that this show managed to capture that I was going to be in for a very pleasant treat. I know that this is just basically a spin-off of the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. This Penguin was in that movie, however, he didn't have an incredibly large role as he wasn't the main supervillain in that movie, but this show definitely makes up for that by leaps and bounds. Colin Farrell is absolutely incredible. I still can't get over how the makeup team on this show and in Batman managed to transform him and turn him into a completely different person. I'm so dead serious. Colin Farrell needs some sort of recognition for this role. Like, the Emmys need to be knocking down his door. Just the story that this show is telling is so good, and it's an original story as well that's touched on a little bit in the comics with the Falcone versus Maronis in Gotham City. However, this show delves into it and really gets deep with the interpersonal relationships between the crime families of Gotham. Another absolutely incredible character, Sophia, played by Kristen Milioti, it absolutely just steals every single scene that she's in. I mean, I can't really say much more. Actually, I absolutely could say much more. I just don't have the time to say it in this video. I mean, come on. The acting was just absolutely superb. The chemistry that Colin Farrell had as the Penguin with Kristen Milioti as Sophia was palpable. You could feel it with every scene that they're in. And it just added so much to the emotional depth of the struggles that both of these very different but very alike characters were going through. Oz's relationship with his mother is absolutely incredible, and there's a few twists and turns at the end of this show that I was absolutely not expecting, I gotta say. But it wasn't done in a way that feels ham-fisted or cheap. You didn't feel like there weren't things leading up to this throughout the show. Just the psychology behind this character of the Penguin is absolutely incredible. I mean, this is no Danny DeVito here. And that's no shade to him, of course, but this is a completely different Penguin altogether. This show has managed to revive this character in such an incredible, nuanced way. One thing in this show that is endlessly entertaining is the Penguin's craftiness and how quick on his feet he is. His intelligence is on full display here. Like, this is just one of those shows that I will absolutely be returning to. It is getting a second season. Apparently, it's been greenlit. And I just gotta say, they have a gem here. Like, this needs to be fleshed out more. I'm very interested to see with this new Batman movie that they're doing, how is it going to relate as it pertains to this show. Never did I think I would be so incredibly fascinated with a show about the Penguin, but here I am. I can't say enough good things about it, honestly. His relationship with Vic I thought was really nice and sweet. Just thank goodness people still write compelling scripts. I just have to get on my knees and praise the script writing gods for that one. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give this show a 10 out of 10. That's just how incredible this show was. I was not expecting the depth, the drama, the dynamics to constantly shift back and forth in this show. 100% 10 out of 10 would recommend. As always, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, stay super. Bye.